What's the story, guys? Welcome to another episode of What Happens Here podcast. Today is proudly sponsored by Tidl Sport's hemp-powered cryotherapy spray. Now, listen, guys, if you have any kind of injuries, aches, pains, if it's your back, if it's your neck, if it's your knees, your ankle, your lower back, let me tell you something. Forget Icy Hot, forget Bengay, forget Tiger Balm, forget any of those other cryotherapy sports sprays that you've tried. This is the juggernaut. This is a blast of cold like you've never, ever felt in your life. Let me tell you something. I've suffered a broken neck. I've tried everything, man. I've had surgeries. I've had injections in the spine. This is a blast of cold like you've never felt. I call it the game changer. Proudly sponsored here at the What Happens Here podcast, Tidl Sport. And you're wondering, why is this guy talking like this so early in the morning? Well, I'll tell you why. Because today's episode is proudly fueled by...
In Ireland, the highest form of compliment in any pub is an insult. So I'm considered quite complimentary. Proper No.12 Irish Whiskey.
Guess who's back? Back again. You're thinking, he's been here so many weeks, every single day, then where's he been gone? We had a little bit of a 3-week break, had to have a little bit of a holiday. Thanks very much for joining us here again at the podcast, man. I'm so happy to be back in the studio with all my friends. There's some massive, massive things happening here in the world, especially here in Las Vegas. I want to give a shout out to everybody that's listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. And if you've just started watching us on YouTube, make sure you give it a share, follow, like, and subscribe. Thank you very much. This is Marcus. We're in Las Vegas, in Sin City. And it's so great because there was kind of an announcement yesterday that the governor, Sisolak, has stated that as of May 1st, Las Vegas will be opening back up 100%. Do you guys know what that means? Do you know what that means? That means that the UFC at the T-Mobile Arena is going to be open to full capacity. I know you haven't been out in over a year. I know the pandemic has screwed with your mind. But let me tell you this, and let me tell you this right now. Vegas is back. If you want to do something to celebrate, get your ass down here to Sin City, man. It's starting to get hot. It's starting to get real hot. Summer's going to be epic. And you know why it's going to be epic? Because if you haven't been to a UFC event, we've been watching it on TV. We've been watching it on cable TV, on the internet, and we've loved it. Dana White has kept our favorite sport going, but there's been no crowd. Admittedly, we still love it, but it's not as exciting as it is. Well, guess what, man? July 10th, UFC, T-Mobile Arena, it's back open. 20,000 fans. And, of course, it's going to be an epic fight. Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor 3. They get to do it all over again. Jake Paul and Ben Askren's coming up this weekend. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Unfortunately, DMX passed. Man, his music is going through the roof on iTunes at the moment. It's the most highly listened to music right now. Kind of sucks when that happens, right? When someone dies or passes away, they get more popular. I've never really understood that. Why are they that popular when they're here? Anyway, that's a totally different story. Today, we are back in the studio, and I've got another fantastic guest. I've really been looking forward to this one. This guy right here. Well, let me tell you something now. You've heard of Xtreme Couture, right? This is this hat right here. My man brought it in for me today. It is the most well-known mixed martial arts gym in the United States, if not the world. Obviously, by one of the best fighters of all time, Randy Couture. The gentleman I've got in here today is the general manager of this gym. He was voted Coach of the Year. He just took Francis Ngannou to get gold, the heavyweight champion of the world. He was there with him the whole time. I can't wait to talk to this guy. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome to the What Happens Here podcast, Coach Eric Nicksick. What's up, my friend?
What's up, Marcus? Thanks for having me, brother.
So thank you very much for the hat.
My pleasure. Yeah, I had to bring you something.
Were you happy this morning when you heard that Las Vegas is opening back up?
First thing I saw. I got up this morning and I had a couple messages already, and then obviously we have Brad Tavares on that card, so we'll be on the main card. And like we had a little crowd when we were in Abu Dhabi, but nothing like what we experienced.
Little, like what, 2,000?
I think it was about 2,000.
Yeah.
It wasn't very many, but you know, having all the fights that we've had in the meantime during the pandemic, a little crowd noise was nice, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it was Puna. Puna was fighting first, and I hear some guy yelling my name. Like, Eric Nicksick, yeah! And I was like, who the hell do I know in Abu Dhabi?
It was James Krause.
It was fucking Felder. Yeah. I was like, who the hell is yelling my name? And it wasn't until Puna won the fight. I look up and it's Felder up in the
Felder,
stands.
the fellow ginger.
Oh, yeah, exactly. My boy. So I was like, oh, shit, it's Felder. So it was just nice having that, just a little bit of energy out there, you know?
Do you think that it made a difference between, obviously not for the fighters, when they get in there, they do the same job every time, but as far as the atmosphere and the general excitement of when you go to watch a fight or see a bout, do you think it was changed without having a crowd?
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. And it was so like, so Francis was our first fight, no crowd, Jacksonville, right? And it was just like this ominous, like, holy shit, like somebody's going to die. Like it felt weird, but it still was kind of like exhilarating too, because it was like you could hear everything. Yeah. And when he landed that shot on Rosenstruck, man, it was like a gunshot went off. You know, so things that you wouldn't really be predicated to hear with a live crowd. Of course, like with a win like that, you would love to hear the crowd roar.
Yeah.
But dude, it was like a freaking like a fight like at school or something. And it was like, oh shit, you know, and it just was different. It was very different.
I like hearing the cornermen and the coaches from the side yelling out their instructions and talking to, the fighter in between rounds. I really enjoy that. It brings a different insight to the whole game. Obviously, you've been in the game for how many years now?
14.
Yeah.
Going on 14 now.
Okay, so, and then before you started Xtreme Couture, you went in there just to get fit, right?
Yeah, I just went in there because, you know, I wouldn't say I was bored, but I miss like competition. I miss camaraderie. I missed having a team.
Because you're a football guy,
I was a football guy, yeah. So, and I was just searching, you know, I was still kind of getting in trouble a little bit, you know, and like living the Vegas nightlife. And I needed something.
Trouble in what way?
You know, I just kind of, I'd say
partied?
Yeah, partied, but like, you know, bar fights or just being a punk, I guess, you know, more over than anything. And going in there just really humbled me and gave me a different outlook on what I wanted to kind of accomplish and achieve outside of, like, I was going to school still, you know, but really having like Randy and Dennis and Mike Pyle and that crew just kind of just righted the shit for me and gave me another outlook.
Did you know who they were when you went in there? Like, were you aware of the status of Randy?
I knew who Randy was. You know, I knew who a couple of the guys were that were in the gym. I knew of Mike Pyle. I didn't know all about like how, you know, really how great Mike was, and then Jay Heron and those guys. Mm-hmm. But you found out pretty damn quick, you know, I'll tell you that. But I didn't really know a whole lot of the guys. For me, I was thinking, oh, I'm just an athlete. I'm going to go in there and just try to be an athlete. Yeah. And then sooner or later you realize, man, this is a different sport.
So you must, your dad was a football coach, right? A pretty well-known one, right?
Yeah, my dad was the first Hall of Fame coach in Nevada that was never a head coach. He was a defensive coordinator. Yeah. So he was the first coach inducted in the Hall of Fame just as a coordinator.
Is Dad still here?
Dad's still here, yeah. Dad's in Vegas.
So he must be pretty happy about the Raiders, and when everything opens back up, some games coming up.
Big time, yeah. He's a Steelers fan. He was from Pittsburgh, but just having any football whatsoever, my dad's all about it. He just loves the sport. But he's kind of translated over into MMA now.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Is that right? Why do you think that people change when they start training mixed martial arts?
You know, I think just you get your ass humbled pretty quick. Yeah. You know, you get the shit kicked out of you, and there's people out there that for some reason somehow there's always somebody out there that can kick your ass. Yeah. And you know, you have that kind of like tough guy ego, you know, and that's what one of his famous sayings he always says, check your ego at the door, because there's always somebody in there to kick your ass. Yeah. You know, and I think that perspective alone really kind of changes men. So why is it, this is what's really funny, and I've found this over the time, is why is it that guys that can fight don't, but guys that can't fight try to fight all the time? It's almost like this posturing effect. What is that? What is it? Is it ego, coach? Is it EGO? Ego. Big time. I think it's almost like they gotta like puff up, posture, show that they're dominant. And a lot of guys that can kick your ass. And it's funny because the smaller guys, like the 45ers on down, are the meanest ones you're going to find, because I think they've been picked on their entire lives, right? Because they're like short in stature or smaller, and they're like, oh, they'll fight you at the drop of a hat. Yeah. You know, for most of us, for me especially, like, I know what outcome happens if we get in that fight. I'm going to jail, and there's possibility of this guy going to the hospital or something. Or the morgue. Or the morgue, right? And you're like, I'm better off just walking away. And we've dropped business cards on people. Like, hey man, if you ever want to come see us and you want to fight there, you're more than welcome. Just come sign the waiver. And that shuts them up real quick, right? Shuts them up real quick. Yeah. You know. Yeah. So are you a Raiders man now? You know, we were season ticket Chargers holders for a long time, and then but being born and raised in Vegas, when you get
You
a
have to,
Vegas,
right?
you
Yeah.
have to,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so once the Raiders got here, and I remember just kind of like telling my wife, like, hey, it's a Raiders town now, you know, and she was like, God damn it,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we're in.
So, have you been to Australia?
I have, yeah, Adelaide,
Beautiful place.
yeah, beautiful.
So, what do you think about rugby league, Australian football?
So we got to go to a game. It was Brad Tavares fought Robert Whittaker. So we went to the stadium that was in Adelaide, and we got to watch like a little bit like a scrimmage game. And it was funny because they were trying to explain to us like the difference between Australian rules and then it was like
And rugby league.
Rugby league, yeah. So one was a little bit more fast paced than the other, but man, it was awesome to watch.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah. The Aussie rules, they bounce the ball and they pass it they punt the ball. Rugby league, they move forward and pass the ball
Backwards, yeah.
But the difference is between, do they still call it gridiron over here in America? Is it called gridiron? Remember back
You
in the
can say
day?
on the gridiron, yeah.
On the
if you say-
gridiron, yeah. It's a little bit different then because in Australia, it's basically your shorts and your jersey, no hats, no helmets. But what the argument that I say to Aussies is, yeah, but you don't have fucking football players, front rowers that are weighing 350 pounds that are coming at you, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, it's apples and oranges when you watch these guys play because these rugby guys are some bad motherfuckers, dude.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
Alex Volkanovski, he did a little bit of rugby league back in the day too, and
Yeah.
he's a little nugget.
Yeah, yeah. We had a kid that I played college ball with that was from New Zealand that was a rugby player, and you know he never put pads on, and when he had pads on, it was like a whole new world for him. you know?
Really?
Oh yeah. He was like, holy shit.
I can
Yeah.
go even harder
Oh,
than
yeah,
that.
I can do even harder.
But those Kiwis are tough bastards,
Oh,
man.
they're
Let me tell
tough.
you, have you been there, New Zealand?
I haven't been to New Zealand. I would like to go. That's kind of on my bucket list, especially with Ray Cepho being one of my best friends. Like I would love to get out there and do it with Ray.
It's God's country out there.
Yeah.
It is, and I've pretty much been everywhere. It is definitely one of the best countries I've ever seen as far as the people, the food,
Yeah.
the smell of the air, and just the general relaxed vibe.
I couldn't imagine. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And then anytime Ray talks about New Zealand, it's like, dude, I got to go out.
Now,
there.
is he white? Is he a Pakeha or is he a Maori?
He's a Maori. Ray Cepho, a 6-time world champ.
right,
yeah,
right.
so 6-time world champ, K1 kickboxer. He's basically one of my head coaches. But Ray's to my equations like the Michael Jordan, for New Zealand for kickboxing. And him and Mark Hunt. So, and they had their wars and everything else. But Ray's a legend. Like when we were in Australia with Brad. Brad is co-main event, and we're cruising through Australia, and everybody wants to talk to Ray. Ray's the guy when it came out there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been about 10 years since I've been back home. There's no COVID over there. Everything's going really great, and I'm just stoked that everything's opening back up here in Vegas. Did you guys suffer a lot in this pandemic, like business wise?
Honestly, Marcus, like business wise, I think everybody did, of course. But I think for us, it was all about perspective. And it was just kind of how you wanted to attack it. And your attitude is contagious. So for me as being a head coach at the gym, I knew I had guys that were possibly going to fight, Francis being one of them. Dan Ige was on that radar. We had Claudio Gadelha. So we had a room full of people that might be fighting. So I knew that if my attitude was like, oh, well, this is, I was like, man, we got to hit this shit head on and make sure we keep that same energy as if the gym was open and we had a team. We have to adapt. And that's part of why we're good at what we do in MMA. Like you have to be able to adapt on the fly and adjust with the times. So that was really my number one approach. I was like, man, like I don't want to, wipe the fucking sniffles and let's get to work, man. We don't have a choice.
Everyone that I speak to about you always talks about your high energy and your enthusiastic approach to everything. Where did that come from? And have you always been like that?
Yes and no. I think it's something that has grown or adapted with over time. But it really, I think a lot of it comes from my dad and my uncle. My uncle was our linebackers coach, and he was always super intense. And it was very hard for him to turn that button off. That's where I got the Burn the Boats moniker. And it was just his attitude was like, hey, if we're going to do something, we're going to do it hard and fast, and whatever we're going to do, we're going to conquer.
Are you Irish?
I'm not. I'm actually Northern Italian, which is crazy.
Really? And you got that red beard.
I do got that red beard.
Epic
man.
red beard, by the
Epic
way.
red beard, So after a long time, I just kind of adopted the Irish.
Right.
it's hard.
Well, that's what I was thinking when I was doing research. I'm like, this guy's got to be Irish. You don't get a red beard.
I
like
might
that.
as well be.
Yeah, you might as well be.
I
So I got a message from someone for you, and I'll tell you who it is. I'm going to read the message first, and then I'll tell you who it's from.
Got it.
I said to him today, hey, any message for the coach? I'll pass it on. He said, yeah, just tell him I always appreciate the big energy he brings him to every practice. His passion is visible and the results are showing in all of us from all the years of his continuous passion and hard work he puts in. From him. Anthony
Burchak. Yeah, dude. Love that kid, man. Burchak's amazing. And, you know, he's a guy that lives in Arizona and does his camps out here with us. And he's always just been just kind of an extension of the family, you know? So it's nice. Like, I miss having him in the gym full time, but obviously I know he lives in Tucson and he has his family and everything else. So when he gets out to Vegas, it's just another great added element of an athlete in the room.
He's another conspiracy theorist like me. So when I had him on the show, we were just like Bigfoot, UFOs, all that really cool stuff. And he's just such a great young up and coming guy. And he's just got such a great attitude as well. And
absolutely.
And he was just, to be honest with you, I actually said to him, bro, you would be the best co-host. You speak so well. You are so funny. I think he would be great doing a podcast. He's really, really great.
I agree.
Yeah. So what do you think's more satisfying, Coach? When you're training these kids and you're seeing like development and you're seeing skill, is the same feeling as when, this might be a stupid question, as when you're preparing for a heavyweight fight with one of the greatest of all? Is there a similar feeling maybe in your heart, or is it all the same?
I understand your question. Yes and no, it can be. But the thing for me as of late, which has been very nice, I've been working with a lot of people that inspire me. You know, so the guys that like wake me up in the morning that I'm so happy to go work with, the Dan Igays, the Francis Ngannous, the Punas, the Brad, you know, just the guys that just like, man, I can't wait to get to work.
Yeah.
You know, and that energy kind of stays the same. Now, I understand, like, yes, there's a lot more riding on the line, especially when you're fighting for a title. But when you look at like a guy like Dan Ige or you know, Jeremy Kenny, all these fights are important to them. You know, so for me, like, I have to make sure I keep that same energy so they feel that same energy when I show up in the room too.
So what do you do when you're feeling shit, or when you're like
fucking
you just push it down,
stuff that shit down and go, you know?
Now, does that mean that it stays down?
Not really. I mean, dude, my wife is wonderful, and I'm able to kind of, you know, we're high school sweethearts. She knows me through and through. So, you know, I'm able to kind of express or talk to her. My mom's wonderful. Like, my mom's the best because she just fucking just listens, you know? Whereas, like, my wife will try to come up with sometimes the answers to things where I'm not really looking for an answer. I'm just looking for an outlet.
Right.
You know, but for me, it's just like, you know, I have to maintain that same energy because I know how prevalent it is in the room.
Yeah.
Because most of us are all going through something.
Yeah.
Right. But as the matriarch of that team in the gym, like, I just got to make sure I hit that shit head on.
And especially when you've already set that standard and that bar, it's very hard to come down from that for like people to go, fuck, what's wrong with Coach today?
Yeah.
Like, geez, you know what I mean? So that must be a lot of pressure, man.
Sometimes, you know, and it's helped me a lot being in the room for so long. Like, I've been in the room for 14 years. So I've seen a lot of really good coaches come and go, you know, Robert Fallis being one of them, you know, Dennis Davis, like guys that I just been able to really watch and observe. But also you kind of understand some of the pitfalls you might have seen out of them as well. You know, it's like, okay, I can learn from their good things, but I can also learn from their mistakes as well.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to talk to some amazing coaches over the time that I've been doing this podcast, which actually just started kind of right at the beginning of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Obviously, yourself has always been on the radar. James Krause was great. I got to talk to Owen Roddy, Sergey Pekulski, and a bunch of those coaches. And one thing I always found with these coaches, your athletes, they're more like family. Like, so is that just what happens in the process of doing something so intimate as training someone to go in there and face another man that's trying to kill him? That's a pretty intimate process if you're just with that, you know what I mean? Like, and I say that in the most respectful term. You and Francis obviously have a really intimate relationship because you guys are doing something that no one else in the world kind of understands. Yeah. Is that what happens? So is it hard on the heart with all this emotion?
I think a lot of times it's predicated on the coach, but
it is, isn't it?
I do. I really think it's predicated on the coach, and I think James and I, we're very close, James and I, but I think we kind of come from that same mentality. Inherently, I think you become family with a lot of these people. And here's the biggest thing, Marcus, that I don't think a lot of people might understand is I give my time away to so many people. The one resource in life we don't give back. And the people that suffer the most is my family. They don't get the time with their dad or their husband. So what's important to me for my family to understand who gets that time. Right? So now they're invested when my time goes to Francis Ngannou. My family's now invested in the title. So winning the title was amazing. But my favorite moment about winning the title was watching the video of my family celebrating his win, our win. It was a family win, bro. Like, see my mom carry the belts around, see my wife carry the belts around. That meant more to me than anything because they invest so much time in this shit.
I can see the emotion in your eyes right now.
It's
I can
big,
see you
man.
getting emotional right now.
But what makes it even better is that Francis gets it. He understands. Your athlete understands that time. So, that shout out that goes to Knox,
dude,
right?
How good was that?
That's for the whole family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
How many nights has he spent at my house having dinner during the pandemic, right? Or time we spent together? He has inherently become part of our family. So that win, it was organic, and what you saw was our brother winning a title. So we all won.
And how old's the little man? How old's Knox?
4. He's 4.
And he sleeps with his Francis Ngannou doll?
Dude, yeah, Francis. So Francis gets his doll fight week, and he has it, and like, it's funny because he walks in, he's like, I don't know, like, they're supposed to give me whatever, but this is for Noxy Boy. And I open it up, and I'm like, oh, dude, Knox is going to freak out.
Does Knox understand the whole process of what's happening? Like, does he watch the fight, and it doesn't scare him or anything?
I don't know if he understands the magnitude of it quite yet.
Right, not the magnitude, but he knows that Francis is going in to fight somebody else, and if he wins, he's going to be the champion of the world.
Yeah. It's a good question, too, Marcus, because I was thinking that, like, when they were watching it. Now, Avery, my middle child, she would have lost it had he lost. She lost it when he won. She's 11.
Okay, yeah.
But, like, Francis is this big brother to her. Like, they play soccer together. She's emotionally invested with him. Like, they're just, like, she loves him. McKenna, my oldest, is a little bit more rigid, right? But she loves Francis equally. They all were emotional when he won. But I was actually wondering that, like, if Knox would have known had he won or lost what the outcome was. But the energy when he won, he obviously knew, like, okay, this was good.
Because kids these days, mate, a bit different when you and I were 4 years old. A 4-year-old these days has probably got the mentality of a 6 or 7-year-old. They know so much stuff is going on. So tell us this one, Coach. Like, you're telling me a lot of things here about Francis that I didn't know. And maybe the people that are listening and watching don't know either. What's one really awesome thing about the champ that no one really knows that you can share?
I think it's kind of the obvious that you see his relationship that he has with the children and kids, and he does a remarkable job with the charity that he has back in Cameroon. He's developed this program out there, this jiu-jitsu program to get these guys started. He has a gym that he's building out there, just all the humanitarian things that I think you see. But a lot of people don't really understand that. I think for Francis, and this is my own dejection from the situation, is that kids are naturally loving and organic, and they're going to give you the energy one way or another. They're not going to bullshit you. Yeah. Children. Yeah. And I think that's why he connects so well with kids, because he's never going to get any bullshit from kids. Yeah. If he thinks your fucking shirt's ugly, Knox is going to be like, bro, what are you wearing? Yeah. He's not going to lie to your face or do anything. So I think a lot of times Francis connects with children because they're innocents. And that's where, now being Francis Ngannou, he's going to get a lot of fake people or bullshit in his life, So while he resonates a lot with the, you come to our class, our pro practice ends and kids class starts right away. He's hanging out, helping kids, So he's just he's a big softie, to be honest with you.
It's so awesome, man. I just love that. It just makes me so much more of a fan.
For sure.
You know what I mean? It's like, you're talking about kids and stuff. We can just get the wide shot there. When I got to hang out with Michael Jackson, which was just one of the best experiences of my life, it was the same kind of thing. He hung out with the kids because he was so famous that there was so many bullshit people around him. He knew that the only people that he could really trust was the kids, which is exactly what you're saying there. I'm making the comparison just due to the fact of their celebrity and how famous they are.
Correct.
So that's just awesome. So I was actually doing a bit of research, and I was writing down a few of my favorite things about Francis and a few of my favorite fights and knockouts. But before I get into that, he's been on the news a little bit late. He was on Mike Tyson's Hot Boxing podcast, and all of a sudden, they had these crossover fights between MMA, boxing, Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
Is this something serious, or is this something just that he would be interested in? And is it something that he could do and win?
I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire, and he's a master promoter, and Markel Martin's a master promoter. You know, I think they're just moving chess pieces. And, you know, where's the real paydays at? Where are the real paydays? I learned that at a young age, especially in this sport, talking to guys like with Mike Pyle. You know, before Mike was in the UFC, he was like fighting for Strikeforce and these other organizations. But he was like, I don't care about fighting for the UFC. I care about who pays me, right? And all the incentives that come behind it. And that's what I started to understand more and more about the sport is it's like this. So you need to maximize your worth right away, man. Make that money. So right now, you got to strike while the iron's hot. If there's a little bit of movement with this whole Tyson Fury thing, fucking let's go, dude.
Yeah,
let's make it happen.
Well, what do you think about the crossover fights? Like coming up this weekend, Ben Askren versus Jake Paul.
Right.
Money involved in that, obviously a lot.
Right.
They've got my boy Mario Lopez as the host, one of the greatest hosts in the history of television. Shout out to my boy Mario Lopez. They've got Justin Bieber involved in the card. Snoop Dogg's going to be one of the commentators. This is like a show, right?
For sure.
And so how do you think that's going to go down? And does the whole MMA community want Ben Askren to win this? Because from what I've seen from Jake Paul, he's got some really good power, some really good footwork, and he throws some really good punches.
You know, stylistically, I don't really give two shits about it. I think it just brings more eyes to our demographic.
And our sport,
And our sport. So, you know, you're talking about YouTubers and people that aren't really in our demographic maybe, but that's going to bring eyes over to it. So, I mean, why not? More power to it. And when they can make money and grab the bag while they can, I love it. It's just going to bring more to us. Stylistically, yeah, dude, Jake Paul can crack. This kid's good. You know, and then, you know, Dewey Cooper and I are very close. He says, like, BJ Flores, his coach, you know, raves about him, says, man, this kid's good.
Is it really? He does?
Yeah, he really is. And I think a lot of things that you're seeing are going to give Ben problems. Now, I don't really care who wins. I don't have any say in that whole thing. Like, I don't really care. But, you know, I think from an MMA perspective, of course, you want Ben Askren to at least show out or do something well because, you know, Jake's not like a fucking actual boxer, you know, like when you're talking about these crossovers.
Is he or isn't he? Is he just because he hasn't had that many bouts?
Yeah.
Or is it because he's got all this money and people that are trying to achieve that have worked their fucking ass off, and then all of a sudden this guy comes in and then that's got to be a little insulting to people that are on the grind, right, Coach?
You would imagine like there's guys in the boxing community that have 300 amateur fights that are trying to make it and get to that point to where they're making that kind of money. Good for him. He's parlayed his career into something now where he can maximize out on it. Yeah. You know, so good for both parties. I hope they're both getting paid well. I hope Ben Askren goes and fucking double legs them. You know,
isn't it boxing?
Throws him for
like,
a fucking loop. Yeah, fuck it.
DQ.
I get touched a couple times when I fucking double leg this guy. So I think it's going to bring a lot of eyes that weren't ever really involved in our sport and bring them over, and hopefully they crosses over to our demographic as well.
So also that was talked about this morning. Just jumping off that topic for a second. Also that was brought up this morning is the fight has been Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier 3 here in Las Vegas, July 10th. Coach, obviously the second fight went completely different to how everybody thought it would be. What do you think the change-up is going to be for Conor's camp this time to avoid those leg kicks? Do you think it's going to be switching stance, that longer stance, that more Muay Thai stance instead of the boxing? What do you think he's got to do to maybe get away from what happened?
So interesting, because if you go back on my Instagram page, I did a breakdown about this fight before it happened, and that was something I predicted out of Poirier.
You actually did predict this?
I did. I said Poirier's going to smash calf kicks on this guy. Southpaw versus southpaw. And here's the thing that you see with Conor's stance. It's very wide base, but his front foot toe points to the inside. It's very hard to get that foot around to check. So just knowing the camp and the styles and everything that these guys are going to be working on, I know Poirier can kick. You saw him get that little bit of kicking battle with Justin Gaethje. I just thought the calf kick was going to be something that was going to be open for him because Conor's predicated on in and out movement, right? He likes to pull counter on guys. So how do you negate some of that movement? You want to chop that lead leg down. So that was something that I thought that was going to happen. Now, is he going to be able to really change his style in such a short amount of time? I don't know. But you know, you're really going to have to be able to kind of shorten that stance up and be willing to kind of meet that check. You're going to have to kind of crowd that calf kick. So when you realize that it's coming, you want to hit that shoulder angle almost at a 45 to get your shin bone involved, because you know when you're throwing a calf kick, it's more your foot that you're landing on. So you know that's why you don't see a lot of K1 guys throwing calf kicks.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Why is it that in K1 and in kickboxing you don't see as many as those as you do in MMA?
Guys are so good at checking kicks that if you were to throw that calf
break
kick,
your foot.
you're breaking your foot. So when this whole calf kick epidemic started, this
It's
thing,
the calf kick epidemic.
Right? But for me as a coach, these are things that from trial and error. So this is about 6 or 7 years ago. So I'm sparring with Ray and I'm trying to hit Ray with this calf kick. And then some were landing, and then he got like, I knew it was landing because he was getting pissed at me. He's like, that ain't a fucking leg kick. Stop throwing that shit. And I'm like, it's landing. Then he started checking that motherfucker, and I was like, all right, I can see where. So Ray and I would kind of go back to the lab and figure out, okay, where are the pitfalls? What's going to happen if we keep throwing it? And we were able to kind of apply our style, like Brad Tavares. So when Brad fought Tidl Sport, we just attacked that dude's calf the whole fight because we knew by stance and this guy's style, being a jiu-jitsu guy, we're going to fucking eat this dude's legs.
And how many
up.
rounds did that last?
It lasted 3, but the motherfucker left in a wheelchair. You know? And that was the whole point. Like, this dude's going to leave in a wheelchair. So every time Brad fights, like this last fight versus Shoeface, I was like, this dude better leave in a wheelchair. So funny, because we're going to the airport, and Brad and I are going through security, and Brad like elbows me, and we just see fucking Shoeface.
Did you get your phone
fucking
out?
rolling in the wheelchair like, oh shit.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, there's styles and techniques to the calf kick that we try to apply to nullify the fact of you getting checked and your foot broken.
Right. And like I was talking to Heather Linden, and she was explaining to me that nerve in the back of your leg there can get compromised pretty easily, especially if it's hit with 3 or 4 good shots.
Yep.
And her analogy was, I was like, well, how does it feel? She goes, well, imagine when you smash your funny bone and then try to undo a bottle. That's what happens to the bottom of your leg when you get smashed like that, right?
Exactly. And you feel it shoots. Like it shoots through your toes, it shoots up to your knee, and you almost feel like you just don't have anything to put pressure on.
So it feels like it's numb.
It hurts like hell. So, you know, unfortunately for me, like I was basically Tidl Sport for all of Brad's camp.
You're right.
And once that shit was over, like my meniscus was torn because then you're kind of just letting your leg lift and go limp. You don't know how to check them correctly because any little bit of pressure that hits that calf, you can't fucking put your foot down. It hurts like hell. So you have to have a great poker face first and foremost, especially in the fight.
Yeah.
But you're not walking right for a few weeks, that's for sure.
And it's funny, I saw some fans on social media saying the calf kick should be banned from MMA because
come on, dude.
Because it can finish things rather quickly, and now everyone's jumping on it.
Learn how to fucking check it. Learn how to adapt. That's what MMA is all about, right? Like when you first look at the inception of the UFC, what are we going to ban jiu-jitsu because no one knew how to defend a triangle choke? No, you fucking get better. You go into the gym and learn how to deal with it. And that's the main thing. That's what's fun about this sport. It's constantly evolving. How do you adapt and overcome? Fucking learn how to check it or throw it yourself.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Now, is checking a leg kick something obviously that every mixed martial artist should learn? But why kind of seem to have that ability? What was the difference with the Poirier fight? Was it just that one kick that got him?
Honestly, it could be 3. It could be 2 or 3. And they're so well timed. And when you just hear that, you know, that thud, you know you got it. And it landed well. So from that point on, we just call it money in the bank. You're just chipping away, putting a little bit in the bank. And you don't have to go to it all the time. Now, you just kind of know it's there. But what it does is it kind of hampers a man's movement, another guy's movement, because he's just kind of lifting the whole time, waiting for that thing to come.
Yep.
You know, so once you kind of put that thought of, you know, that money in the bank, if you will, then, you know, you might start seeing some different things out of Conor as far as his striking goes because he doesn't want to risk getting kicked in that leg again.
So do you think he's just going to go full steam, bullet gate like he always does, but maybe with a bit of a wider stance this time?
I think you want to shorten your stance up a little bit more. You don't want to get too wide. You want to kind of be a little bit more shorter stance. But I also do agree with that. That switching stances is good, especially when you're we call it like when you take pictures. So you kind of get in that pocket and guys kind of are standing there. That's when you're really susceptible just to catch that kick and go. Yeah. So just a little bit more lateral movement, a little bit more level change, shoulder shake, things of that sort, in and out. You don't want to just kind of just be planted there. So a drill that we'll do is, especially if a guy mirrors a jab. So if I'm Poirier, I throw my jab and Connor mirrors back with a jab. We just rear hand parry and smash your calf kick. You know, so yeah, so we drill that quite a bit. So there's a lot of things I think that like I don't know if he's going to be able to really nullify it in this amount of time. I'm sure they're going to come up with some things to try to take it away. But you're right. I think switching stances is good. We did that a lot with Dan Ige and Edson Barboza. We never really wanted to stay in one place.
Yeah.
We didn't want to be there to get fucking kicked.
Yeah, well, he's another man with those great leg kicks as Edwin Barboza, same as Jose Aldo was
Big
just
time.
amazing at those leg kicks. And I remember when Conor fought Jose, one thing I was worried about with those leg kicks, but
Big
obviously
time.
it didn't get that far. So speaking of Conor McGregor, this podcast is proudly fueled by Proper 12 Irish Whiskey. Have you tried it?
I have, yeah.
And?
It's not bad.
You like it?
Yeah, it's not bad.
So should we have a little toast?
Yeah, fucking. I came here for you and the whiskey.
Cheers,
Cheers,
Coach.
brother. 12:46. We're good.
I started at 11:46.
Yeah,
well,
good.
the good thing about this is that we are, as I mentioned earlier on, we're fueled by Proper 12 Irish Whiskey, and this is the part of the show that I like to call the passing of the proper. This is where I like to give all my guests that come onto the show a little gift to go home. Now, Coach took the time out of his very strenuous, hard day. He didn't get paid to come on and do this. He did it out of the goodness of his heart. So,
Oh boy,
for you, my friend,
I love it.
let me just get the camera angle right here. I have a brand new, fresh bottle of Proper 12 Irish Whiskey. You can drink this now. You can drink it later. This one's for you, my
That's
friend.
one in my office. You know what I mean?
And if you could do me a big favor for the heavyweight champion of the world, I know he doesn't mainly drink whiskey. He likes to drink.
I'll make him take a shot of that.
Would you please pass on this bottle to Francis
I would love
Ngannou
to. I would love to.
maybe take a picture of him having a shot of it?
No problem.
Will you do that?
Yeah, I will.
Francis, this one's for you, my brother.
All right, Francis. It's party time in the office.
Don't drink both of those, Coach.
No promises.
So enjoy that, man.
Thank you.
And thank you very much to Connor and all the boys that send that whiskey over to me. It's a great part of the show, and I love doing it. I was writing down a couple of Francis's favourite knockouts just before we get down to the end of it here. And I wrote them down. I was watching them. So I think the Henrique uppercut was definitely my favourite, followed by the Alistair Overeem uppercut.
Right.
When you're holding pads for someone that has that much power, what's that feel like? Is it a shockwave through your body? Because you're a pretty big guy.
Yeah.
What are
yeah.
you, 210?
About 225.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
is, man.
Yeah.
Thankfully he's very precise with his strikes, and he's able to put it in place where you feel like okay, but if this thing lands, man, it's something else. Like he picks me up at times when I'll get hit with his knees right off my feet.
Wow.
Like he's as strong as it gets, man.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Getting hit by that guy with 4-ounce gloves, he's gonna put people to sleep.
Well, and that's the thing, Coach. When you were training for this camp, was it more wrestling orientated camp because you knew that, hey, look, we already know that his striking is what it is. If you get touched, you're going to sleep. We've got to maybe was it more wrestling? Am I right to say that it was wrestling orientated?
Yes and no. So here's my biggest thing is I don't want to make things a la carte.
Right.
I don't want things to look like, oh, we're just working on striking today. We have to be able to blend each art. So it's important to be able to strike and then feel like, okay, here's where I need to wrestle or here's where I need to defend wrestling.
Right.
So we really just focused on the whole overall package. But what happened in this camp was the Rosenstrike camp and this camp especially, he started falling in love with offensive wrestling. And I don't give a shit. Wrestling's wrestling, right? Defending takedowns, yes. But when he started falling in love with the offensive side of wrestling, that's when I'm like, oh shit.
Is that because of his power, Coach? He was so strong, he could really...
So strong, but I mean, it almost like you just gave an artist a new set of paint. I was like,
I love that.
Have fun, bro. Paint with this. And he's going,
and he paints a
shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he paints a masterpiece.
And, I didn't talk much about it leading up to because I thought that there was a time where we might put Stipe on his ass as far as the wrestling goes. But seeing Francis on top of somebody ground and pounding, I mean, I've been underneath him before, like elbows getting lit up. It is fucking terrifying.
Is it really?
It's terrifying.
I want to experience it just for like 5 seconds to know what that form of pure terror really is.
It's terrifying. So, we there's certain things that we work on as far as how we like to tie up legs, because especially at the heavyweight division, heavyweights have one big get up. It's like give your back up, but get your legs base up
Right.
and use your legs, right? We like to kill the legs. You know, so when Francis kills a guy's legs and he doesn't have anything to base up on, we're gonna fuck you up. It's gnarly.
So a lot of when I kind of let out that you were going to be coming on the show, I had heaps of the fans sending me stuff to ask you. So what's next? What's next? Is John Jones next?
We don't know. We don't know. Of course, that fight makes the most sense. And here's the thing. So let's say John takes a fight besides us, right? What happens if John loses? Think about that Pacquiao-Mayweather time when that fight was hot and it didn't happen and fucking Pacquiao went and got knocked out. It kind of lost its luster when it ended up happening, you know? So I think the timing's right. I think it's supposed to happen. Obviously, I'm not keen on the numbers. I don't know how those things are working out, and I think that leave it up to them. Great for John Jones. Good on John Jones. He's making us all more money. And I'm happy he's the guy that's really taking the bullet for us all. Yeah. So I think it needs to happen. I think the timing's right. Now that we have a crowd, now that you have a gate, people are coming back. Fuck, who doesn't want to see that fight? Who doesn't want to see that fight?
Everyone wants to see it.
Pound for pound, the greatest MMA fighter of all time in John Jones. Great camp, great coaches. I love Brandon Gibson, one of my good friends. I think he's a genius when it comes to sport. I'm a competitor, dude. I want to compete against these guys.
Yeah.
You know? Let us go and see what we can do versus John Jones.
I just have to sit here and think about it because it gives me chills when I think that's a definite possibility. The most brutal knockout in UFC history was Stipe. And you know when it's a brutal knockout when the memes start flying around. And I know I know that I don't know if Stipe takes it in his stride, but it's what happens. And there's so many the guitar meme and the dancing meme and the jumping over the things. How does that make you feel when you see those kind of things? Do you think that's insulting to the sport?
I mean, it's part of the sport.
Right.
It's part of the sport, and you giggle, but like, God forbid, I'm never going to reshare any of that stuff because MMA karma is fucking real.
No, absolutely. You never take pride in someone else's loss, right?
Not in
a negative way, right, Coach?
I mean, you really can't. And had Stipe been a dick leading up to, or was it was something like along those lines, maybe a little bit. But I mean, we're talking about the greatest heavyweight to ever do it, a guy who's a fucking firefighter, right? Just a stand up human being all around.
Yeah,
and I love the dude, man.
Yeah.
I've known Stipe for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm good friends with all of his guys over Strong Style.
Yeah.
By no means would we ever want to show them up, or make fun of or make light of that, because you can very easily, your next fight,
the same thing can happen.
Same thing fucking happen to you.
Yeah. See,
now, it will. I mean, things like that happen.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to happen as part of the sport.
Yeah.
But, man, I'm never going to partake in it and make it even worse.
Why do the fans do that, Coach? Why do the fans that think they know so much about the sport have the most lack of respect for these athletes? They don't know about the weight cuts, the training camps. They don't know about the blood, sweat, and tears being away from their family. Why do the MMA fans particularly have the right to talk so much shit?
I think it's just that. I think that they're naive to the fact of really understanding what goes into that.
Yeah.
So if you're in the gym and you're seeing this environment and you're seeing what these guys put themselves through in an 8-week camp, you would never fucking do that.
You wouldn't dare do that.
You would respect the hell out of these guys. So I think it's just being naive to the point. And a lot of times it's like you almost want to educate them. You almost want to invite them in. Like, hey, come down and do a practice sometime. Hey, come and watch what we do on a fucking 8-week camp, right? Come do one of my practices on a Monday, dude. You're not lasting 4 or 5 minutes, guaranteed. You're going to be like, oh, shit, this is a practice? We'll fucking murder you.
That's a really good way of putting it. Like, instead of saying, fuck you, you stupid troll.
Yeah.
Come down to the gym and let's do 5 minutes on the mat.
I bartended for like 20 years, right? So it was almost church and state. So when you bartended, like, I didn't want to talk about fucking MMA or anything to these people drinking beers and smoking cigarettes. What the fuck do they know, right?
Right.
But there was one of those days where I had enough, and this guy is like mid-drag of a cigarette, drinking his fucking 3rd or 4th beer, and the girl sitting next to him was like, Eric runs Xtreme Couture, and he kind of like fucking
puffed up,
oh yeah, fucking cigarette and whatever. He's like, man, I'm a whatever black belt, and maybe I'll come in and show you guys something sometime. And I'm like, carrying glasses, and I fucking stopped mid-conversation. I turned around. I go, bro, do you realize how demeaning it is that you're gonna tell me that you're gonna come and show us a thing or two as you're here there on your third beer and fifth cigarette. That you're gonna come to our gym and show these best athletes in the world a thing or two. I go, dude, you know what? Come on in sometime. Come show us a fucking thing or two. I'll see you on Monday. Come by and show us. Here's my card. Yeah. Fucking, you know, I lost it. I was like, bro, I've heard enough of this shit.
Yeah, that's a great story because it really just shows that people don't have a clue.
Not a fucking clue.
Not a clue. Not a single clue. I like watching these knockout fights on YouTube about these guys that think that they know how to fight, and then they end up messing with someone that does know how to do MMA. And it's just, I get really satisfied watching that. I don't know why.
Back when Ryan Couture was a savage, you know, Ryan, my guy, he'd get in leg kick battles with people. He's just like, we'll just do a leg kick battle, right? Harmless. You kick me, I kick you. First one that stops loses. We'll be at fucking Stoney's and he's leg kicking some random guy and just stopping him with one kick.
Stoney's.
Yeah. Like, hey, bro, like you kick me as hard as you can, and I'll kick you as hard as you can, and the guy who wants to stop first loses.
That's epic. Stoney's, you have been around for a while.
Been around for a while.
You're Las Vegas born and bred, right, Coach?
Spent a month here one night.
Where were you born?
Here.
No, where?
Oh,
Sunrise
Children's Hospital.
Sunrise Children's Hospital.
Children's Hospital. My mom's born and raised here as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so she was born in the 50s. So yeah, I mean, long line of generations of Vegas kids for sure.
Wow. Yeah, I like the Sunrise Children's Hospital. I've done a few charities down there. I do Spider-Man for. I dress up as Spider-Man.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's just gratifying. You can cry under the mask and no one sees you.
Even better, yeah.
You know, you go to those little cancer wards where those, you know, and little kids have got tubes and everything hanging out from cancer, and then you walk in dressed as Spider-Man, and
they love it.
They love it, bro.
Oh yeah, that one has been like on my list to do. I've made opportunity.
You want to do Spider-Man?
Well, I'll do anything.
I got a couple of spare costumes.
But the crying under the mask would be more appealing to me because I would lose my shit.
Yeah, it's very it's difficult. It's satisfying and difficult, but. You know what I mean? I'm one of those emotional kind of guys anyway.
Yeah,
I'll cry at a Kleenex commercial. So
me too.
Seeing a little kid there and smiling at Spider-Man with fucking tubes hanging out, it's definitely a humbling and makes you want to do more.
That having children changed me. Absolutely changed me.
You got 3 now, right, Coach?
I got 3. So
I was 1 on the way.
No,
is that what you want to say?
No, I'm all set. I'm
you
good.
got it snipped?
I'm good. I need to though. I need to. I'm playing with fire.
Oh.
But I was going to school to be a paramedic. I was a firefighter paramedic, and it wasn't until I had my first child, and then I'm running a call, and it had to do with a kid, and I'm like, you know what, man? I don't know if I want to do this shit.
Man. Yeah.
I don't know if I want to do this every day.
Yeah.
You know, and it really just kind of diverted me to something else.
Yeah. Well, and what it's diverted you to, your career is, and your reputation, which to me, the career is always good, but the reputation that you have, not only in this town, but through the athletes, everyone that I've spoke to about you has said just such amazing things. The build up to getting you on the show, you've just been a completely class act. We don't know each other from we met once before, but you've just, you came out and decided to do this. And this is actually only helping me in my endeavor in trying to be a great podcaster and trying to talk to amazing and interesting people. And I'm just so happy that you got to come on the show today.
No, it's my pleasure. And I love the fact that you found the pandemic to be your opportunity to take advantage of something that you turned into something really awesome.
Well, do you know what, Coach? I've been in the same job for 24 years. I've been the host of Thunder from Down Under, which is the... you've probably never seen it.
Spent a month there one night.
So when the pandemic hit, obviously all the entertainment closed down here, and for the first time in 25 years, I was sitting there with like, what the hell am I going to do? And bang, this little idea came, and it started in the bedroom in a little corner with an iPhone and a computer, and a year later we're here in this fantastic studio, and I'm getting to talk to some fantastic, amazing people like you that have great stories. Coach, is there anything else that I know a lot of people listening to this sometimes reach out for inspiration, reach out for something to grasp onto? You take care of some of the most elite athletes in the world. If there's some advice that you could give to someone out there that maybe needs something to hold on to or something to live for, or that's feeling like shit, is there something that you could say to give someone that little bit of fire under their ass, Coach?
You know what, Marcus? I think the biggest thing that we suffer as a society is accountability. I think sometimes we look for things to feel sorry for ourselves about rather than looking on the inside and going, hey, you know what? Maybe I don't fucking drink this 6-pack of beer tonight. You know, I want to lose weight, but maybe I don't do this. You know, I wanted to start this podcast, right? Maybe I don't go out till fucking 2 or 3 in the morning. Start looking on the inside and figure out how to fix things there first, opposed to fucking pointing fingers. I feel like as a society, we do that quite a bit. We point fingers at why we're not where we want to be, rather than going, hey, man, I can get better here. I can do better at this. Is it the workout you want to get in, right? Well, we can get up a little bit earlier. Oh, my sleep's too important. That means the workout isn't as important to you then.
Yeah.
Right? Start prioritizing. Is it something you're telling yourself is really important to you? Or is it just bullshit you're feeding yourself? You know, you start looking at things in our lives. I always look at like my screen time. Well, how much time am I spending on social media? That 2.5 hours a day that can be going to my kid. That 2.5 hours a day I could be going to honing my craft or getting better at something, right? Prioritize what's important for you and start being accountable for those things, because at the end of the day, man, it's fucking on us. You know, it's on us. You know, you found a way to find something new to do and then make it really fucking good. It wasn't because you were just wiping your sniffles, right? We saw that a lot during the pandemic. What do we hear about 2020? What was synonymous with 2020?
It was the worst year in fucking history. Fuck 2020.
I made more fucking money in 2020 than I ever had in my life, right? It's all about perspective. It's all about accountability, right? You can sit at home and sniffle as much as you want, but at the end of the day, it's on your ass.
So there you go. Accountability. It's up to you. You're the conductor of your destiny. You're the one that decides. You're the Darth Vader of your universe. It's up to you. Look internally. Take accountability for the shit that you've done. Make a decision and go forth and do it. Where do you get your haircut?
I haven't. Actually,
Elliot.
Yeah, Elliot's my guy.
Elliot.
So I've grown, Elliot's my guy. Elliot Chester and I have been friends for years, man. I've known Elliot before Elliot was doing all the shit. You know
Before
what I mean?
Elliot was Elliot and Co. Garrison.
Elliot Chester and I are old school friends, man. He's a good friend of mine, you know. And actually, Elliot came to the gym a couple weeks ago and gave me a couple shirts. And he's like, "Yo, motherfucker, you need to get in the chair."
Actually, I saw you on social media wearing a Garrison shirt.
Yeah, that's my guy. You know, and here's the thing about Elliot. Beyond being a phenomenal barber, I'm talking about a businessman in person. I've known Elliot for about 10 years, and that dude has built a brand, and this has been his vision for a long, long time. So it's awesome to be on these parallels of a guy that has been in his chair when I was kind of coming up as well, right? Here's a barber, here's a young up-and-coming coach. So seeing him where he's at and me where I'm at today, we just saw each other a couple weeks ago, and we kind of laughed and giggled like, bro, love the grind, bro. And then we talk about surrounding yourselves with like-minded individuals. That motherfucker right there is real, dude.
Can I just say, can I just elaborate on that? And I don't want to take full credit for starting this whole podcast in the pandemic. The idea and the person that drove it into my head was Elliot. He said, "Marcus, what are you doing, man? You need to fucking start a podcast. You need to start talking." It was Elliot, man. It was Elliot that did it. If I have any business advice that I need, I call Elliot.
Yep.
He gives it to me. He's like a brother to me. He's someone that I care about and love very, very much. So I'm glad.
Guarantee you read Focus, the
Yep.
book. Yep, that was Elliot.
Yep.
You need to grab this book. Brought me the book. Next time I got a cut, yo, read this book.
Yeah.
Focus.
He told me straight up, man.
Yeah.
He just told me straight up. You're fucking around. You're doing this whole impersonator thing. It's not working. You need to branch out with the contacts that you've made.
Mm-hmm.
And it was bro. And I still remember it. And I talked to him about it. I was like, it's because of you that I'm doing this, Elliot.
Yeah, big time. Love the guy to death, man. And what he's built for himself, right? He's an artist. When you think about what he does, he's a fucking artist, man. He's one of the best to do it. You know, love the guy to death. He's a friend of mine that I've known for a long, long time, and it's. I don't think by any coincidence that we're this close to that guy. You know,
absolutely. I mean, I can tell that the friendship that I have with Elliot is definitely the sort of friendship that I would have with you, because you wouldn't care about him, and you know what I mean. It's you all need to know the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, we're getting really emotional here. Elliot and Co. The Garrison. Thank you very much for all that you do in this community. Yeah, let's have a look.
I'm empty, bro.
Are you? What?
I fucking
no. Right behind you. That's the big 175 liter. We call that one the Big Boss.
That is. How much do I pour that? Oh, jeez. Fill her up.
There we go.
Brings me back to my bartending days.
Does it really?
A little bit.
Where'd you work at?
3 Angry Wives, Irish pub.
Is that?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
20 years there, man.
Really?
Oh, yeah. 20 years.
So, are you the one that makes all the drinks at the parties? Is your wife
I
like, babe,
can't-
make
yeah,
that fucking,
yeah, yeah.
make that snippy, snappy, snoppy, snoopy?
I did it Francis's little after
shindig?
party. Oh, yeah. I was like, watch out, guys. So after the fight, Dana comes up and goes, here, kid. Hands me 2 bottles of Howlerhead. I was like, oh, fuck, it's on.
Now, what's that like?
Howlerhead's pretty good, actually. It's not, I'm not going to try, I can go with this all night, but it's got a little banana, kind of little sugary taste to it. Maybe one or two.
Yeah,
but
is it like that fireball sweet kind
not
of?
as bad. No, not as bad. It has a little hint of banana, and Dana's like, oh, grab some Cokes with that kid. It's good. It's this, and that. I'm like, yeah, I had like 3 or 4. It wasn't bad, but it was nice when the boss man hands you a couple bottles of whiskey after you win. You know?
Oh no, absolutely. How's your relationship with Dana?
You know what?
I know there's a little bit of controversy there back with the whole
Randy and all that stuff
with the heart attack thing.
with Dana.
Yeah. Was it
Oh, Uriah.
Uriah Hall?
With Uriah Hall. No, look, I've always been a huge fan of Dana and what he's done for the sport and done for us.
Yeah.
His attack was an attack. Look, those guys put a lot of money into Uriah, and he was a co-main event. There's a lot of money involved. I get it. I understand. But I think there was a lot of things that were kind of misled on why he missed weight. It was like, oh, he's out partying, he's doing all this stuff. Uriah's a night guy. He's almost kind of narcoleptic. The guy never sleeps.
Really?
So he'll go out and he'll drink a bottle of water, but he'll hang out and listen to good music, talk to chicks. It does it look great, but he's not doing anything bad either.
Right.
And
right.
sometimes these guys need an opportunity to decompress. Sometimes they need an opportunity to kind of let off some steam. I had no problem with what he was doing. That also didn't lead to the reason why he missed weight. There were some other things that happened. So
Unknown things.
I wouldn't say unknown, but I think there were some things that there was a lot of fingers being pointed, and some of them weren't being pointed at some of the people that should have had.
Gotcha.
Them, so I was like, hold on, But I sent Dana a message right after Jacksonville, and I was like, hey man, thank you for the opportunity for allowing my family to make some money during this pandemic. You did us a huge favor. We were a little scared in the fact because we were the first ones to come back.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what the hell we were dealing with. But dude, he gave us a fucking opportunity to make money.
And he also gave the fans an opportunity to be entertained during one of the most devastating years in history. There was no sports on, and the only thing that was playing was the UFC. Dana White got a lot of flack, got a lot of controversy, got a lot of shit for bringing it out in the midst of a global pandemic. But thank God he did it, because it was one of the only bits of sanity that I had.
Well, I think when you go back and look at this in 10 years from now, his name's going to come up.
Huge.
His name's going to come up huge in a guy who was a kind of a pioneer to make this shit happen.
Yeah.
Good on him, man.
Yeah.
Good on him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good on you, and you wore your party shirt.
That's my boy Lance Palmer.
Lance Palmer. Shout out to Lance Palmer. Coach,
Pleasure, brother.
it's been a pleasure. I want to do it again.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to.
Maybe we get the big man in here one day, do you think,
Yeah,
Coach?
get his ass in here. Yeah.
Can we get him in here?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he'll get in here.
Can I get your word on that?
Yeah. Well, you get Markel on the phone. We got to get through all the fucking. Hold on, we got this guy. Yeah. No, he would love to come in.
No, I would love that. No,
especially when it's right here.
Right there, right up the road.
Here, yeah.
Right up the road. Well, you know what? I got to be honest, guys. I was a little nervous coming back. I had 3 weeks off, and the nerves pretty much went straight out the door after I met Coach in the first 2 seconds. It's just been one of those great conversations. Yeah, we've talked about mixed martial arts, but we've also talked about life and different things on the inside. I just want to thank everybody that's continually supporting us in this endeavor that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make a mark. I'm trying to do some good quality podcasts that people enjoy and love listening to. And it's going really great. And it's because of you guys out there. If you're listening, if you're watching, from the bottom of my heart, man, I just can't express how much it means to me that you guys like what I'm doing. Coach, thanks for coming on the show today. I really, really appreciate it. I'll look forward to seeing you again, maybe coming down to the gym and throwing you around a little bit.
Love to.
And that's it. Hey, thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is Marcus Deegan from the What Happens Here podcast. Hey, we got some big things coming up. We got a rebrand. We got a new name. And here's what we're doing. We're going to rename the show. Anyone out there that's listening, If you have an idea what you think would be a good name to rename this show, send it in via email, social media. If we pick a winner, we're going to fly you out to Vegas and put you up in a hotel and look after you for the weekend. This is Marcus Deegan for the What Happens Here podcast. Thanks for coming. Love you guys.